Hey everybody, welcome to the Online Creators Association's Thursday night stream. Tonight we're talking about the very big news from the Washington Post. Facebook, Meta, paid a Republican consulting or a GOP firm to malign TikTok, according to the Washington Post. Arget, do we have any intro stuff that we want to do before we get into it, or do we just want to jump right into the article?
I think that's it. I think that's all we got today.
All right. So, first thing I'm going to do is fiddle with the size of this window a little bit so that it fits the space better. I could have done this before I went live. Did I? No. Facebook paid GOP firm to malign TikTok. The firm, Targeted Victory, pushed local operatives across the country to boost messages calling TikTok a threat to American children. Dream would be to get stories with headlines like "From Dances to Danger," one campaign director said, by Taylor Lorenz and Drew Harwell. Facebook parent company Meta is paying one of the biggest Republican consulting firms in the country to orchestrate a nationwide campaign seeking to turn the public against TikTok. The campaign includes placing op-eds and letters to the editor in major regional news outlets, promoting dubious stories about alleged TikTok trends that actually originated on Facebook, and pushing to draw political reporters and local politicians into helping take down its biggest competitor. These bare-knuckle tactics, long commonplace in the world of politics, have become increasingly notable within a tech industry where companies vie for cultural relevance and come at a time when Facebook is under pressure to win back young users. Employees with the firm Targeted Victory work to undermine TikTok through a nationwide media and lobbying campaign, portraying the fast-growing app owned by the Beijing-based company ByteDance as a danger to American children and society, according to internal emails shared with the Washington Post. Now, just off the top here, Facebook thought that they were going to get people back to Facebook by persuading old people to be scared of TikTok. Specifically, they were getting young people. They were going to attract young people to Facebook by making TikTok seem like the dangerous place that the old people don't like.
Yep. And it's working.
Is it? I mean, the old people don't like it, but TikTok is thriving.
Yes, like it is. Well, okay, it's working to continue to scare the older people who are not like aware of all of this and even can read through an entire article like this and walk away from it without this takeaway that, oh, by the way.
Yeah, like it's.
I'm so sorry. Like I'm probably going to keep starting and stopping talking a lot tonight because like both between I know that you are aware that I got into a tiff with a friend about this whole situation, but the this type of thing keeps happening over and over and over again. Why is it always Republican, conservative, right leaning people that say, this is the scary thing. Oh, we're not finding evidence of that enough. We're going to create it. And then after that all comes to light, there's still enough people who are just like, but maybe this is the lie. So that scary TikTok trend that scared me, that sounds more truthful in this situation. So TikTok is still evil. TikTok is still, problematic and everything. And it's just kind of like, how did we walk away from the same story with the opposite opinions? This does not make sense.
I mean, it's because the Republican organizing tactic for the last 30, 40, 200 years has been to train their base to discount reality.
But even in this particular case, my friend is not a conservative, but still isn't believing that this is misinformation campaign about TikTok is the problem. And I'm like, I don't know how to help you here.
I mean, I think that comes down to cognitive dissonance thing. People don't like changing A,
That
their
too.
beliefs, and B, even more so, their behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Does the change in perspective you're suggesting for your friend
Mm-hmm.
imply a change in behavior that they would have to commit to if they wanted to like reconcile their moral relationship to their platforms?
And this is the thing, is that I couldn't get her to release an idea that I accidentally misspoke about, um, because it was, again, this is one of those things, and I'm sorry, I don't really want to go down this path, but just for the sake of clarifying how I misspoke, is that eventually I still think all of these bad TikTok smear campaigns, they are rooted in racism or xenophobia, however you want to look at it. Somewhere along the line, that's where all of this has started. Uh, well, not all of this has started. I mean, like, one part of it's money. Like, money is a huge motivator, but then there's also a lot of, China app, China app, China app. It's like, but every part of TikTok that we are consuming, even though the parent company is still in China, yes, that company is both working on separating itself from China, and the parts of the app that we interact with are not in China at all. So why is that particular thing still like there? So she is mistrustful of things happening in China. I understand, as a global news perspective, but when it comes down to this app, she's still not seeing that, okay, there is a disconnect between these other issues, these other geopolitical issues that are ideas bigger than the internet, bigger than the app itself, and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think the issue there might be not that your friend mistrusts China, but that your friend does not also mistrust America.
Right. That's nailed it.
Like there's no good argument to make that you
Mm-hmm.
should trust China. They
Yes.
they absolutely like as a state are comfortable making effort, like putting in efforts to manipulate the public consciousness of other countries. Same with
Right.
Russia. Same with fucking France and England. Like there aren't countries not doing that. But also the United States puts a lot of work into manipulating the consciousness of its people, and it's a lot more effective at that than other countries are at manipulating the consciousness of the people of the United States. Um,
Yeah. I think that actually, that is the biggest issue there too, and that's just kind of not only blowing my mind, but I need to drop that at this moment though too, because it's going to get too personal for I can't leave out all of the details. Like, this is a person I've known my entire life. We have known each other since childhood, so it's a big conversation, and I tried, but we talked about other like anti-racism books and whatnot too. And she's read like half of the ones that I've read too. So, like, again, I'm a little bit confused. Like, how are you consuming all of this, anti-racism media that you then share with your other people that but then not be able to apply that to a real world situation and determine that this is what's going on here. And Facebook's still fine.
yeah, no, that's the problem. I would guess that the biggest part of the problem here is that your friend still primarily uses Facebook and isn't on TikTok. And so believing
No.
that Facebook is in the wrong relative to TikTok implies that they are using the morally wrong social media platform. Most people are not very good at divorcing the things they're doing in the world from what they think the best possible world would look like. Like most people are like, this is the point of the like no ethical consumption under capitalism line that people misuse all the time, is that like it is psychologically important to accept that you do things that are not morally good
Mhm.
because you have to survive or because you have to function or because you have to exist in the world. um, that that is not something most people are used to. That's not something most people are comfortable with. And so most people, when you confront them with the statement, this organization that you have anything at all to do with has done a wrong thing,
Mhm.
they read that as either I can accept this claim or I can continue interacting with this organization. I cannot do both. And belief follows behavior far more easily than behavior follows belief. Our brain, if we feel like we would have to change our behavior if we change our belief about something, our brains are very, very highly motivated to find a way to not change our beliefs about the thing.
Yes.
So I think I think the two tactics that I think would work in that conversation with your friend are A, whenever they are making a fact claim about something, rather than try to contradict that fact claim, look for the bigger picture questions that the other parts of the statement that fact claim is taking as a given, we can't trust China, taking as a given we can trust America more than we can trust China. Like often the problem is not that the thing the person is saying is wrong, it's that the thing the person is saying is being used in a way that lacks context
Yes.
in order to disproportionately prioritize that fact over other comparable facts. So that, and then the other strategy is encourage them to accept that they can see flaws in a system and still engage with that system.
Exactly.
It is totally okay to say, yeah, you still use Facebook, I still use Facebook, we all still use Facebook because it's holding our relationships with our grandparents hostage. And we can't, there is no possible world in which we can make everybody in our lives stop using Facebook. So, or all transition to the same other social media platform. So if we want to keep our relationships, we have to keep using this suboptimal moral choice.
I suppose I shouldn't have maybe buried the lead that this entire conversation took place on Facebook.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, that would be a great rhetorical point to use in that conversation, is just being able to say, look, obviously I am not saying stop using Facebook. We are having this conversation on Facebook.
Yep.
What I am saying is accept that the company that we both interact with and support every day in a material way does evil things with the money that we let them get.
Yep. Okay. We have more active chat than normal too, which hello everybody. I would like to take a moment to, just so we don't forget this, but yes, happy Trans Day of Visibility. A little bit of the political bit. Okay. Sorry, just trying to catch up. Okay. Music Mike was asking if it's possible that their goal was to successfully damage TikTok legally. Maybe.
I mean, we're going to go more into the article, but no, that's not really what their goal was.
I don't think so either.
Targeted Victory needs to get the message out that while Meta is the current punching bag, TikTok is the real threat, especially as a foreign-owned app that is #1 in sharing data that young teens are using. A director for the firm wrote in a February email. Campaign operatives were also encouraged to use TikTok's prominence as a way to deflect from Meta's own privacy and antitrust concerns. Bonus point if we can fit this into a broader message that the current bills/proposals aren't where the state attorneys general or members of Congress should be focused, a Targeted Victory staffer wrote. So yeah, it's not about drawing attention to TikTok as a target of legal action, so much as deflecting legal attention being put on Facebook. Because Facebook is the one that there's been recent leaked internal studies about the psychological damage it does to children, demonstrably with Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is the one that's facing serious antitrust accusations. Yeah, Meta benefits from democracy crumbling and less antitrust. TikTok, less so at the moment. TikTok is not currently positioned to be a replacement for the entire internet. So TikTok is not currently positioning itself to be a functional substitute government. The emails, which have not been previously reported, show the extent to which Meta and its partners will use opposition research tactics on the Chinese-owned multi-billion-dollar rival that has become one of the most downloaded apps in the world, often outranking even Meta's popular Facebook and Instagram apps. In an internal report last year leaked by the whistleblower Francis Haugen, Facebook researchers said teens were spending 2 to 3 times more time on TikTok than Instagram, and that Facebook's popularity among young people had plummeted. Targeted Victory declined to respond to questions about the campaign, saying only that it has represented Meta for several years and is proud of the work we have done. In one email, a Targeted Victory director asked for ideas on local political reporters who could serve as a back channel for anti-TikTok messages, saying the firm would definitely want it to be hands-off. In other emails, Targeted Victory urged partners to push stories to local media tying TikTok to dangerous teen trends in an effort to show the app's purported harms. Any local examples of bad TikTok trends/stories in your markets? A Targeted Victory staffer asked. Dream would be to get stories with headlines like "From Dances to Danger: How TikTok Has Become the Most Harmful Social Media Space for Kids," the staffer wrote. Meta spokesperson Andy Stone defended the campaign by saying, "We believe all platforms, including TikTok, should face a level of scrutiny consistent with their growing success." I don't think they believe that about Facebook. A TikTok spokesperson said that the company is deeply concerned about the stoking of local media reports on alleged trends that have not been found on the platform. Targeted Victory worked to amplify negative TikTok coverage through a Google document titled "Bad TikTok Clips," which was shared internally and included links to dubious local news stories citing TikTok as the origin of dangerous teen trends. Local operatives working within the firm were encouraged to promote these alleged TikTok trends in their own markets and put pressure on lawmakers to act. One trend Targeted Victory sought to enhance through its work was the Devious Licks Challenge, which showed students vandalizing school property. Through the Bad TikTok Clips document, the firm pushed stories about the Devious Licks Challenge in local media across Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Rhode Island, and Washington, D.C. The trend led Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat in Connecticut, to write a letter in September calling on TikTok executives to testify in front of a Senate subcommittee, saying the app had been repeatedly misused and abused to promote behavior and actions that encourage harmful and destructive acts. But according to an investigation by Anna Foley at the podcast network Gimlet, the rumors of Devious Licks Challenge initially spread on Facebook, not TikTok. In October, Targeted Victory worked to spread rumors of the Slap a Teacher TikTok challenge in local news, touting local news report on the alleged challenge in Hawaii. In reality, no such challenge existed on TikTok. Again, the rumor started on Facebook, according to a series of Facebook posts first documented by The Insider.
And it was like, these were the two stories that my friend raised concern over. And I was like, do you see now that it wasn't even real? And it was started on Facebook and it was orchestrated by this shadowy group, and they wouldn't let it go.
Here's the thing. TikTok is not filled with manufactured dangerous trends and stuff. They are not manufacturing the trends on TikTok. They are manufacturing news stories about the trends in local papers. Like, the trends didn't exist. They didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The agency was working at the same time to get proactive coverage about Facebook into local newspapers, radio segments, and TV broadcasts, including submitting letters and opinion pieces speaking glowingly of Facebook's role in, for instance, supporting Black-owned businesses. Those letters did not mention the Meta-funded firm's involvement. Yeah, no, the point isn't to get the trends to happen, Michael. The point is to get old people scared of TikTok. Like, it's the same thing as the razor blades and drugs in Halloween candy thing.
Yeah,
the point of the stories is not to try and get people to put razor blades in Halloween candy. It's to make old people scared.
Mm-hmm. It makes me think of, like, if you play the record backwards, it's satanic, like, worshiping.
Yeah, no, this is it's a textbook moral panic. The first thing I thought of the first time I saw these articles was the lipstick party thing, or the rainbow party thing.
Yes, where everybody throws drugs into a pot.
No, I'm thinking of the story from when I was in high school that girls would go to parties where they would all put on different colored lipsticks and give the same guy a blowjob so that he would have a rainbow on his dick.
Oh, that one. Yeah, no, I put that one straight out of my memory.
Also,
Anyway,
not a thing that ever happened.
yeah,
Like, I don't even think very kinky people making fun of it would have bothered to orchestrate that.
yes. Yeah.
Targeted Victory is contacted with with dozens of public relations firms across the United States to help sway public opinion against TikTok. In addition to planting local news stories, the firm has helped place op-eds targeting TikTok around the country, especially in key congressional districts. On March 12th, a letter to the editor that Targeted Victory officials helped orchestrate ran in the Denver Post. The letter, from a, quote, concerned, quote, new parent, claimed that TikTok was harmful to children's mental health, raised concerns over its data privacy practices, and said that many people even suspect China is deliberately collecting behavioral data on our kids. The letter also
Well,
issued support for Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser's choice to join a coalition of state attorneys general investigating TikTok's impact on American youths, putting political pressure on the company.
remember these two paragraphs for in a couple minutes.
A very similar letter to the editor drafted by Targeted Victory ran that same day in the Des Moines Register. The piece linked to negative stories about TikTok that Targeted Victory had previously sought to amplify. The letter was signed by Mary McAdams, chair of the Ankeny area Democrats. Targeted Victory touted McAdams' credentials in an email on March 7th. McAdams' name on this letter to the editor will carry a lot of weight with legislators and stakeholders, a Targeted Victory director wrote. The email then encouraged partners across other states to look for opportunities to add to the campaign, quote, especially if your state AG suddenly joins on. The authors of the two letters did not respond to calls or emails requesting comment. An email sent last week to local contractors, Targeted Victory asked each team to, quote, be prepared to share the op-ed they're working on right now. Quote, Colorado and Iowa, can you talk about the TikTok op-eds you both got? A Targeted Victory representative asked. The emails show how the firm has effectively promoted its anti-TikTok messaging without revealing that it came from a firm working on Meta's behalf. None of the op-eds or letters to the editor were published with any indication that the Meta-funded group had been involved. Launched as a Republican digital consulting firm by Zach Moffett, a digital director for Mitt Romney's 2012 presidential campaign, Targeted Victory has routinely advised Facebook officials over the years, including during a high-profile congressional hearing after the 2016 election. The Arlington, Virginia-based firm advertises on its website that it brings, quote, a right-of-center perspective to solving marketing challenges and can deploy field teams, quote, anywhere in the country within 48 hours. The firm is one of the biggest recipients of Republican campaign spending, earning more than $237 million in 2020, according to data compiled by Open Secrets. Its biggest payments come from national GOP congressional committees and America First Action, a pro-Trump super PAC. In 2020, the firm said it was expanding its crisis practice and corporate affairs offerings because of its clients' growing need for, quote, issues management and executive positioning, adding that it would focus its efforts toward, quote, authentic storytelling with a, quote, hyper-local approach. Some of the emails targeting TikTok were sent in February, shortly after Meta announced that Facebook had lost users for the first time in its 18-year history. Meta chief executive Mark Zuckerberg told investors then that TikTok was a major obstacle, saying, people have a lot of choices for how they want to spend their time, and apps like TikTok are growing very quickly. The company unveiled a TikTok clone, a short video feature called Reels, and promotes it heavily in its Instagram app. In a 2019 speech in Georgetown University, during which he invoked the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and championed Facebook's role in promoting free speech, Zuckerberg criticized TikTok for reports it had banned discussion on topics deemed subversive by the Chinese government, saying, is that the internet we want? The Washington Post and The Guardian had previously highlighted those content moderation rules. TikTok has said those guidelines were outdated and that its U.S. business now operates under different rules than its Chinese counterpart. But Zuckerberg has also pointed at TikTok to counter concerns that Facebook holds a monopoly on social media. TikTok is, quote, the fastest growing app, he said in his opening remarks at a hearing of the House Antitrust Subcommittee in 2020. The anti-TikTok campaign follows in a long line of Facebook-funded advocacy groups working to boost its standing in the public eye. In 2018, working with Definers Public Affairs, another Washington consulting firm founded by Republican political veterans to lash out at critics and other tech companies, including Apple and Google, during the Cambridge Analytica scandal that sparked global outrage over Facebook's privacy rules. The company said it stopped working with Definers shortly after a New York Times report on the arrangement. And in 2019, the company faced antitrust scrutiny over its gargantuan impact. Facebook drove the creation of a political advocacy group, American Edge, designed to persuade Washington lawmakers that Silicon Valley was critical to the U.S. economy and that overt regulation could weaken the country's competitiveness in a technology race against China. Meta outspends all but 6 of the nation's biggest companies and industry groups in federal lobbying, paying more than $20 million last year, according to data compiled by Open Secrets. And I just want to let you all know for the record, I looked at that list of data compiled by Open Secrets. They list the top 20 biggest spenders in lobbying in the United States. Meta is the only social media company on the list. So, like, it's not Facebook 7 ByteDance 8 or Facebook 6 ByteDance 7.
I was also finding it interesting. Again, I can't number in my head, terribly much, but it's just like, even looking at the top 5 people donating to that targeted victory company, according to Open Secrets, I just find this very interesting. And it's also, I will be more interested once they're able to update to more recent, because they do apparently an audit every 2 years or something, it looks like, because it's 2018, 2020. The most recent information is talking about basically 2019 through, or the full years of 2019 and 2020. So we are now, part of the way through 2022. So these numbers are going to change even more again, too.
Are you talking about this list, or are you talking about something else?
I was looking at the other link, I think, that they have in there too, the vendor receipt for targeted victories that breaks down how in the 2020 cycle, so that's basically beginning January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2020. That's when they earned that $237 million, almost $238 million, versus the previous cycle beginning, again, January 2017 through December 2018. They'd only earned 44 million, nearly 45 million from political donations. And again, almost, and like entirely right-wing people. If you would like the link, I can give that to you too.
Oh, I've got it up.
Okay. Because it's interesting. So this is also still operating off of old information. So I am starting to question just a little bit too, how, well, I mean, we know that those,
the thing is, the, what is it? The top spenders list is just 2021 data.
Oh, that is? Okay. Oh, good.
But yeah, Michael Abaigai wrote, I'm guessing it's up there with media companies and energy companies.
Yeah.
It's U.S. Chamber of Commerce, National Association of Realtors, Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, Business Roundtable, Blue Cross Blue Shield, American Hospital Association, Meta, then American Medical Association, Amazon.com, American Chemistry Council, Raytheon, National Association of Manufacturers, Lockheed Martin. So let's see, yeah, I think, yep, Meta and Amazon are both higher than any defense contractor.
That's so weird. Like,
it's wild. They are not higher than like 4 medical organizations, though.
Yeah, I agree. That's insane. All of this is insane. And we just sit here and they never talk about this stuff.
Yeah,
but again, this is
safe to say that like the majority of money that goes into lobbying in the United States is healthcare lobbying, which makes sense because we have an absolutely nonsense healthcare system that cannot justify its existence in any way. So obviously it would take billions of dollars every year to persuade the government to keep letting it exist. Mike, I am not currently, I don't think that vetting this data is within the scope of this stream. I'm going to say that Open Secrets is a source trusted by the Washington Post, and that is as detailed as we're going to get about it. But yeah, to return to the thesis, Facebook paid a GOP firm to malign TikTok. And yeah, I want to pull up something that
and it's like, again, with everything that social media is, it's like this kind of stuff right here. Like, it's not even the political campaign ads or whatnot that are like out of control misinformation type stuff. Again, this just drives me crazy.
Mm-hmm. I want to also just bring up something that came up in the Comrade chat on the Toka server, talking about why Meta and Targeted Victory didn't target actual problems on TikTok. Because I wrote a response to that, and I don't feel like coming up with it again from scratch here, so I'm just going to read it. There are a few other reasons why it wouldn't be a good move for them to target TikTok over TikTok's actual problems. A lot of the problems aren't existing concerns for the populations they're targeting. Like algorithmic prejudice is something they'd have to teach the audience to be outraged about before they could start generating outrage on that. And most people aren't passionate about bad UX design on apps they don't even use. Also, if people get outraged about a problem that tangibly exists, then the company can tangibly address that problem to diffuse outrage, and suddenly it turns into a PR opportunity. If you get people outraged over an imaginary problem, there's no possible steps the company can take to address the problem. The only thing they can do is tell the outraged people that they're wrong about their understanding of reality, which is a really good way to make people who already hate you even more. Which, Arget, is the problem you're having with your friend. Like,
yes,
there's no way to have a conversation about these problems on TikTok in a way that like feels to the person you're having the conversation with like you're being fair, because there's no way to have the conversation where you go, okay, I accept that these problems are real, but let's put that in context. Because the problems aren't real. They're made up.
Yep. This is that whole, God, I unsubscribed from so much political content on Facebook once I realized like how prevalent these issues were of everything is fake. Like almost all these issues that are being brought up are and making people feel outraged are fake. And again, it's just to distract again from the core couple of issues that if we can all unify as a country, we're going to get some more traction on things. And I freaking hate it. Like,
Yeah,
this
and the
is
thing is, like, there's also like there's a tendency for people to say like we at Toka are angry at TikTok a lot. There are a lot of things to be mad at TikTok about. And there is a tendency for people who are angry at TikTok a lot to be like, yeah, I mean, any reason to hate TikTok is a good reason to hate TikTok. Like, fuck it. Getting people mad at TikTok is always good. And that's not true. Because, as I just laid out, if people were mad at TikTok about real problems, TikTok would have to address those problems in order to make them not mad. If people are mad at TikTok about fake problems, that is not the strategy. The strategy is participate in the PR war. And not only is that upfront effort that's not going towards solving real problems, it's also TikTok investing in the back-end infrastructure for using PR tactics as the strategy for dealing with problems, which means next problem rolls around, they're going to be considering, should we use this existing business relationship we have with an organization we already know can make this story go away, or should we hire a new department of programmers who can just fix it?
My brain isn't remembering that word, or not word, but the principle. You can't put the burden of proof on what doesn't exist. The burden of proof is on what does exist, type thing. My brain just completely lost it. But that's like it. Like, you cannot be like, prove to me that something doesn't exist. No evidence provided will ever, or there's no evidence to provide, therefore you can never prove that it doesn't exist.
I see what you're getting at. I have a lot of feelings about that. as a philosophy major.
I know. I'm like, I know that I'm going down a dark alley right here, but
No, you're not wrong to bring that up, and the nitpicks that I have about that concept are not super relevant today.
yeah. But
The
it's like,
the
again,
short
you
answer
can't.
is you can't prove anything. Like if we're talking about
Mhm.
the framework of evidence, if we're in the concept of evidence, then we're talking about empiricism. Empiricism is demonstrating reality by using sensory information, and sensory information is always imperfect, so you can never prove anything with certainty. So like it's true that you can never prove that something is not, like, it's virtually impossible to prove a negative because you can never have perfect information.
Yeah.
Like it's um what we're talking about here is the non-bridge between empirical knowledge and rational knowledge. There is no amount of evidence you can gather about the world that will ever let you say this is just true. Like we have experienced this so much that we know this is true as a fundamental law of reality.
Mhm.
One of the classic examples of rational knowledge as opposed to empirical knowledge is all men are mortal. But like actually, so far, only like 96% of people have ever died. Like that's a almost 5% of people have never died.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people who have not died for us to be assuming that everyone dies.
Yeah. Come on.
Um,
I love and
like
hate that comment so much.
what?
I love and hate what you just said so much.
One of my favorite memories of, I was talking to you before the stream about my friend Rachel. One of my
Yeah.
favorite memories of interacting with them is we were just hanging out at college one night. They said everybody dies, and I said so far, and they were like, "Wow, I hate that."
Yes. Yes. Oh God. And then now all I can think of is Wally. Like even anyway. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah,
So
like the
yeah, I
thing
can
to
grumble about
prove
this
a negative, you need
for
exhaustive
hours.
knowledge of the system entailed.
Yeah.
And while it is, I mean, this is sort of like the. Okay, I think I'm getting around to the thing that I want to. It's difficult for me to figure out what the thing is that I want to say about this because I have a lot of feelings on it from a lot of different directions. But I think that the thing that's relevant here is that our classical Western styles of knowing uh, do not value lived experience as a legitimate form of evidence. Um, and so we, as people who live our lives on TikTok, cannot cite our lived experience that these trends aren't happening to people who have had it reported to them by a newspaper. Because a newspaper is an authoritative source, and we are necessarily incomplete in our witnessing.
Mm-hmm.
And like the much more significant case in which this problem shows up is like people not trusting marginalized people on the legitimacy of their descriptions of their experience of marginalization on the basis that they don't have exhaustive information about the internal life of every person they interact with. Um, but like it's a problem of modernity that comes up all over the place, and like no system of knowing, like there is no area in which a person can have information that is made better by eliminating systems of knowing. And I mean for that to go both ways. It goes for don't discount lived experience and don't reject science. Um, but stories passed down by Indigenous people are often put in works cited as personal communications and not given the weight they deserve, says Michael the Bi Guy. Thank you, Michael. I'm reading aloud for TikTok Live and for the record. But Yeah. By the time Europeans were coming to the Americas, for example, and I'm going to stick to North America because it's the place where I know the most about the way that colonizers treated indigenous knowledge. But it was already like well into the modern era at that point. Like colonialism is a product of modernism. Like it follows from modernism. Um, so by that point, philosophically, the culture that was doing the colonizing had already committed to there are strictly correct ways to know things, and any way that is not that way, that is not one of those ways, is fully not a legitimate way of like achieving knowledge. Um, and so like there was no effort when Westerners got to North America to learn from native peoples and like translate what they knew into the systems of knowledge that exist. Um, that is something that like contemporary like the institutions of science are working on figuring out now. Like this is what things like ethnography are for. Ethnography is a method for taking uh, knowledge from within a community that exists in a form that is not empirical compatible, that is not compatible with its science as an institution, and like rendering it into a form that does register as meaningful within a scientific institution. That's like that is a practice of interoperability. That is a way that it makes sense for like science as an institution to accept the validity of non-scientific knowledge. But that's not a thing that existed back then. Like even anthropology, at that point hadn't been invented. When it would be invented, had a long way to go before it was anything other than this is why white people are better than non-white people. But yeah, no, there was no at its inception there was no method for science to incorporate existing knowledge that was not created within the framework of science. And that's like that means that we lost a lot of knowledge. Like we lost a lot of knowledge in Europe. We destroyed a lot of knowledge when we left. Everywhere we wound up. Like this is like the thing that was happening to indigenous people and indigenous knowledge in the Americas is the same in science as the European sense. Michael, so I'm going to take a minute here and just define science, because science, we have this tendency to use the word science as like a catch-all for every systematic approach to knowing that has ever existed. And that is not what I mean when I say science. That's not what I'm doing when I refer to science. So there are, I think, three things that we can reasonably say science refers to, and these are the things. And like when I need to be, I am specific about which one of these things. But anytime I'm referring to science, I'm referring to one or all of these specific things. There is science as a methodology, which is a an approach to question asking and answering that was developed in Europe in the 1500s, 15 and 1600s, and has continued to be refined in the hundreds of years since. And this is like not just like any form of inquiry. Like prior to empiricism as a philosophical movement in the 16th, 17th centuries, prior to that, the thing that most resembled science, the thing that dates back to the Greeks, was called natural philosophy. And that's a different thing. Like it's like science emerged from the tradition of natural philosophy, but like there is a meaningful difference between scientific methodology and the methodology of natural philosophy, in the sense that natural philosophy didn't have a methodology. So there's science as a methodology. Then there is science as an institution, which is the thing that we can reasonably say like has lineage all the way back to Greece, because like whether we say that it has lineage all the way back to Greece is complicated, because white supremacists did a lot of work to manufacture a like lineage through Greece and Rome as a way of like bolstering the narrative of a single best race. But like it is not as though that lineage completely doesn't exist. It's just not as cut and dry as the Western cultural narrative would have you believe. But and like a lot of the reason why that lineage exists is because 17th century philosophers were weeaboos for ancient Greece, and they modeled a lot of their decisions on stories they'd heard about Greek philosophy. So there's science as an institution, which is the academies, the universities, the PhDs, peer review, publications. This is the like material structure and body of information that we call science, that that you can interface with professionally, that you can interface with in the world. And then there is science as a meta-narrative, science as a worldview. This is often called scientism, which is the belief that scientific methodology and scientific justification is the only coherent way to understand anything about the world. And this is wrong. Like, it's not true, it's incorrect, and it is bad for you. Like this is the incel shit where like people are like, I've gone on dates with 4 women and it's gone badly every time. I have proven that I am like empirically unlovable. Like that's the kind of thing that scientism leads you to. So anytime that I'm referring to science, I'm referring to one or all of those 3 things, one or more of those 3 things. And in the case of like talking about ethnography as a way of building interoperability between scientific and non-scientific knowledge, I'm talking about science as an institution. Ethnography is a scientific method for documenting and incorporating unscientific claims within the scientific body of knowledge, so that they can be referenced, cited, used by scientists. Like one of the standard things of like how science works as an institution is just somebody has to publish the study so that the thing gets written down. So like a lot of studies that happen, you hear people say like, everybody knew that. Why did they need to do a study on that? And they needed to do a study on it because doing a study on it is the process of writing it down. Like that's what the process is. That's how you put something in the body of scientific knowledge. And it's good that that's the method, because it used to be way back in the 16th and 17th centuries that you could just write a letter to the major publications, and if you were a fancy enough scientist, they published it, and that was treated as scientific truth because a scientist wrote it down. And a lot of really bad ideas have been in our scientific body of knowledge and have not been eliminated from our scientific body of knowledge because some jackass in 17th century England believed it.
Correct.
So that's my rant about science. That's one of my rants about science. I have a lot of rants about science.
I was just going to say, yeah, we could probably pick up more on that later. Also, I do apologize for that noise in the background. But I also will say I have bittersweet news about that too. For anybody who does not know, I have come to the realization that I cannot care for my cats anymore because I'm struggling enough taking care of myself. So this is the last time that noise will happen, because they're playing with their toy. They've got that ball Zoom thing. They love doing it when I'm on it. They push it clear across the apartment just to do it right next to me, and I don't even hear it. And I try to hit mute when I realize it's happening. So sorry about that. But I was just thinking, for the last 10 minutes, there were those couple of TikTok features that I was still so irritated about, the Facebook TikTok thing, that I completely forgot about that. But one feature that I still like cannot find anybody else who like really has this is the TikTok collections. So like you still get to see like all of your favorites that you have like in your favorites, but you can also organize your favorites. Like I have a bunch of stuff that like these are videos that I'd like to reply to at some point and just
Yeah,
haven't gotten around yet.
I've got that.
You do? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Cecilia has it too. That's
I
the thing
might
that
have
I've
known
been.
that.
That's the thing that I was complaining about for a really long time. That I was calling folders.
Okay, yes, they call it collections. And then they did another big rollout of stories, which works just as you would expect with for like Instagram stories and whatever. You can just tap on it and make a really, really short video, and then it deletes after 24 hours. The other thing I was going to say is that down here, you know that you're in the story recording because you see that silly little
Sparkle.
sparkle. But we
Two
also
things.
noticed.
I want to just. May I? I want to respond to Michael real quick. I am very. Michael says fuck stories. I'm very excited about stories because like I have a side account where I post my like shit posts and thoughts and stuff. And like for a while I was making TikToks that were like, this is a draft TikTok that I will make a better version of when I have time to like record the good TikTok. I want stories so bad because I don't actually go back and delete those things until like 6 months later when they've been in my account and like damaging my performance metrics for months. And I just want them to go away after 24 hours without having to think about it. I'm so excited about stories, so excited to be able to make TikToks that are just like, hey, I had a thought while driving, and this is me talking about it for 15 seconds. And I will maybe make a TikTok about this in a week or a month or a year.
I also heard from the history wizard that if you get a comment in your story, you don't actually get a notification about it. So if you do happen to post a story, if you would like to see if anyone's actually interacting with your post, you have to go take a look at it. I actually even just noticed that they've switched it down here. I don't know if it's going to focus. It says quick, where you can do your story version, or you can actually apparently just take a photo now too, which I know that they've been beta testing that off and on for the past like year. Versus if you switch back to camera, then it's just the regular. But if you also notice around here, there's a circle around the camera now too that it shows you your clips
Yeah,
around
isn't it cool
there.
how they made the clip timer worse?
Yeah.
Like now your thumb is covering it instead of it being
Yeah.
at the top of the screen where you're looking toward the camera. Okay,
I
Michael,
feel
that
like
is
there
a
was
really
one
good
other
reason to hate a
thing.
feature. Michael says, I mean, that I was opening the app and it's like, do you want to do a story? And it takes up half the screen. Inaxolotl plane _ Jakey says, groups are a thing now. Can you expand on that? What are groups?
I was curious about that too. There's also these crazy, stupid pop-ups that keep coming up. Like if you go to do something, it's like, hey, you should share this to your story. And then there is one other. I don't know that I.
Oh, the other thing is I've been seeing posts from my mutuals that claim, like TikToks from my mutuals that claim that they are story TikToks. So I believe that if you don't have stories, then other people's stories are just showing up in your feed as though they were regular TikToks, and presumably just won't show up after like they've existed for a day.
The way you can also tell that is if you go to share said TikTok, your options on a story are only report and it's like favorite or something. I will see if I can get that. But I was also complaining in Salt chat, and I have an image.
Can people group their friend, like the people they're following? I want that so bad. I want a folder for my friends.
Shut up. I need pictures of that, please and thank you. If you are in the Discord, I would greatly appreciate it if you posted that, because
we desperately want as much information about that as you can give us immediately.
I've never heard of that. I haven't seen that. That would be pretty awesome.
Michael, thank you for dropping the Discord link.
Darn it, I can't find it.
We haven't been talking about the article for a while.
That's okay. Nope, this is not. You know what? I need to just search from Arget. Has image go. There we go. one of the new share functions. There we go. This person shared their link in Discord, being like, "Hey, would you mind watching my video?" And it popped up this abomination, being like, "Do you want to follow them before even watching the video?"
You know what? I
And I'm
understand
like,
why that
"I'm
would
not."
annoy absolutely everybody. As a creator, I don't really care
Yeah,
if people get an extra
yeah.
opportunity to be told to follow me.
I want it on the video though, because I will never just follow somebody without watching their video, because I have plenty of people who've been like, "Oh, you should follow like all of these people." And I'm like, I do like you. I trust you. I might want to follow those people, but I don't definitely want to follow those people.
Shaky, could
So,
you, if you can find that TikTok, please drop it in the Discord. If you know that person, can you tell us who they are and or
okay.
tell them we want to talk to them?
Yes, please. Because again, that is one of those things that I wish I had, because I am now also at that point where like I have followed enough people that sometimes I just start unfollowing them because I never see their content, they don't post anymore, whatever, and I don't remember why I followed them in the first place. I
Every once
had
in a while I
even
think about doing that, but then like I'm scrolling through and I'm like, well, I haven't seen you post in like 9 months, so you're not clogging up my For You feed, so it's fine if I still follow you. Like, I
yeah,
only unfollow people if I'm seeing them a lot and I don't want to.
but even that doesn't work. I've been experimenting with that with people for so long too.
Yeah, that's super annoying. There's this
Uh,
one guy who I blocked months and months and months ago. I don't know why. Probably said something douchey in one of my comment
yes,
sections. Um, but then one of my friends recommended them as like an account everyone should follow, so I unblocked them because I was like, "Who's this person I have blocked who my friend says is a really good person to follow?" And like, they're fine. I don't particularly like or hate their content,
mhm,
but like the vague impression of at some point you pissed me off enough to block you, it
yes,
just makes it I don't want to see their face. Uh,
yes. Well, yeah, and I finally was reminded of a person that I meant to block temporarily, as somebody finally was talking to me about them again too, and I finally unblocked them because there was this stretch of time where I'm like, I was not following this creator. Similarly to what you just described, I liked them. I didn't love them enough to like follow them, but it's nothing's bad about it. But the freaking FYP showed me every single one of their videos. And if I didn't interact with it, they'd show it to me again. I'm like, stop it. I understand. Like, I understand you really want me to like this creator, but it's not happening. Stop trying to make fetch a thing. Like,
that sounds
anyway,
wildly annoying.
super annoying. But yeah, no, so I blocked them for a while just to get them off my FYP, and it worked. I accidentally kept them blocked for like a year. I don't know how long, but these things happen because I forget. Hello.
We are very nearly out of time, so I am
Oh,
gonna
yes.
start the wrap up. Folks who are watching right now, if you're not already in the Discord, Michael linked it just very recently in chat, so I'm not going to drop that again. But if you have at least 1,000 followers on TikTok and are over 18, you can join as a comrade, get access to the creator-only spaces where we have a lot of conversations about things that are going on TikTok. If you have less than 1,000 followers but are over 18, you can join as an accomplice. Accomplices don't get as much access to the server, but you do still get the announcements. There is a conversation space where a lot of good conversation happens about what's going on TikTok. We try to keep people up to date on important news stories and share resources with everyone we can. I am going to drop the link to the Patreon as well. That is not the command. I hit an extra letter. If you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/toka. Support there really helps us. It's how we fund. We do research. We've invested money in research. We just spent $30 renewing business.horse. We last month had
I
a
love
series of
business.
talks with marginalized creators on TikTok talking about their experiences. Those are up on the website. Actually, I think I need to edit what the Nightbot thing says because we don't actually have upcoming talks planned right now. But if you go to officialtoka.com/talks, you can find information about the talks we led. We paid all of our panelists for those. We also pay our guests on the live stream. And it is the Patreon support that allows us to do that. It also allows us to do other things like develop ongoing program plans and hopefully at some point in the future pay standing mods for the server so that we can like focus on expanding and work on making sure that the server is more useful, and so that those of us who joined Toka to work on like projects for Toka can work on the projects less than mod the server, which will be great because that means we can finally put together some of the resources that we've been working on for ages. I do want to say we have just appointed one of our admins, Amelia Som, as the project manager. So there is now somebody telling us what we need to be working on, which is awesome because I have ADHD and Cecilia is very busy. But yeah, all that stuff is made easier and made possible with support on Patreon. And there are thresholds we could hit. There are growth points we could hit that would mean for significantly more important things. Like this is, I'm going to be clear, this is a while off, but like hypothetically at some point, big enough Patreon, we could put together a mutual aid fund. And that like a mutual aid fund is one of the necessary preconditions for us to do any kind of organized action to ask like TikTok as creators to demand that as creators that TikTok make some kind of change. This is people's livelihood, and we can't ask people to put that livelihood at risk if we're not prepared to stick up for them. And part of being prepared to stick up for people is putting the money aside in advance to be ready to offer financial support to get through hard times like strikes. That is all we've got for you tonight. Please support us on Patreon. It really is an incredible help. Thank you so much for coming. We don't have an outro yet, but I did recently learn that I can set up an outro video that I can play at the end of this so it won't be so abrupt when I end the stream. Don't have that set up yet, so bye.